Neil, after a manic first few days, how much of a difference is it going to make having a free week this week to properly assess your squad thoroughly?
It's nice to have a full week and not have a fixture in midweek. We have got a reserve fixture tomorrow, which is good for me because I can watch some other players that I've not seen play tomorrow. So that will be helpful. You would like to have your first 11 that you can hang your hat on and say that's my first 11, and then prepare it fully every day going into the game. But that's not going to be possible because it's still looking at players, and there's obviously a lot more players than I'm used to, certainly more than I was used to as a player, and a lot more players than I'm used to as a manager. So it would be wrong to discount people without seeing them play. That would be silly. But it would be nice to have a core of players that we can work day in, day out on a structure that we feel is the best for those players.
How beneficial will it be, once you've had time and once you've assessed everything, to get the squad down to a reasonable number?
That's key. Key for the club, in my opinion, is to get the squad to a reasonable number, and then we can put some good work into those players on a regular basis and not have to alienate players, which for me is very demoralising. If you're going to play a practice game and you're not even getting into you're picking two teams and you've got players still not getting into the teams, it's not ideal. And like I say, it'll be a big problem to sort out how to manage the players who are not in the 11 and the ones who are not getting into the 18.
How key a month will January be? Because you'll obviously want to bring in some new faces yourself, but at the same time, if you've got a squad so big, another priority is going to be whittling numbers down.
Yeah, we can't add to the squad without people leaving the squad. That would just be silly because the numbers are too high at the moment. So it's one problem I would say you have to deal with at a time. We've got to be mindful of players that we bring in, but at the same time we have to shift some players out. Not just for the cost implications of having too many players, but just to manage those players. I mean, everybody needs managing, and everybody needs to keep the fitness up. Everybody needs to train, and you've got a lot of people who are on the sort of sidelines, and it's important that they stay as match fit as possible.
When you look at the league position that you've inherited the side in, and then you look at the quality which you've seen from the players so far, how harsh do you feel that position is on the group?
No, they deserve to be where they are because they're not. They're conceding too many goals and they're not scoring enough. So they deserve to be and we deserve to be where we are, and we have to stop conceding goals and score. It's not changed. Football doesn't change that much. The priorities have to be what we do in both boxes. I thought on Saturday we started the game well and had a good tempo, and we looked like we could score goals. But in the second half we looked vulnerable, and for a 20-minute spell, we looked like we would concede. So we must do better in both boxes. But no, you're always where you deserve to be, and that's at the moment. This is where we deserve to be. But we can get out of it. But it's down to the players at the end of the day on the pitch, and they've got to be accountable for the jobs, and they've got to be responsible for the jobs, and it's down to them to get us out of the position we're in. But no, we certainly not. I won't be telling them that they should be this and that. They are where they deserve to be at the moment.
We've said already that you didn't have much time to work on your system with the players. As a manager, do you like to stick to the same routine with systems? Do you like to mix things up a little bit? What can we expect going forward?
I think it would be, you might want to play a certain way. You might then find that the personnel you have are not capable of playing in the way that you want. So it would be wrong to say that you're going to just do one thing and stick to it, because it's obvious that you can't do that. I've looked at the games. You know, it's been a real crash course. I've never worked as hard ever in my life as I have over the last couple of days. Last week's probably the busiest week in my life. You're looking at trying to cram in all the games that they've played. It's quite obvious that as a club we've tried every formation possible, I think. So they've been chopping and changing and searching for that formula, and none of them has been one that you could say what they're going to use going forward. I have my own feelings on the personnel at the moment and what suits us and suits some of the players, but again, it's always the performances and results that dictate it, and you might have to change it. But it would be wrong to say we're just going to do this, we're going to stick to it. But I do think that we need to get to a system where everybody knows their jobs, and we need to work at it. And whether that's after a couple of games or after 3 or 4 games, but all the time, even if you're new to any job, the pressure builds when you're not getting a result. And we've not won a game at home, so that's a pressure in itself. I think after leading 1-0 and then conceding a goal, you could see visibly, I wouldn't say heads went down, but the belief drains away from players. And until they get that first home win and realise that they can win games here, then that's going to be the case. So obviously they need to get that as soon as possible.